Good evening. Welcome to my channel. Yesterday we spoke about globalization as part of a series of the videos, and we looked at different aspects of globalization, and we're trying to explain the cost of living in terms of globalization. We have before explained the cost of living in terms of different elements. We looked at capitalism. We look at marketization. We say the government has closed down the public sector. That's why we have the cost of living. It's the main cause of the cost of living because of the crisis. It's a major change in politics and also in the economy. Every time there is a major change, there's a disruption of society. Sometimes um, very dramatic things happen. People, probably the war in Ukraine is also the effect of globalization because so many things are changing. We had the end of the Soviet Union, the rise of or maybe Russia, and maybe America. America has grown in power. We have the European Union and Europe, Western Europe. These are power changes. All these are actually global crises which actually impact on the cost of living and other issues. And I've actually said it over and over again. I'm looking at globalization. Yesterday we looked at anti-globalization movement. These are actually organizations which oppose globalization, and so we're going to continue to look at how it works, and people who do not like globalization at all, who actually um, look at different power structure and look at things like trade, trade unionists, environmentalists, activists, land rights, indigenous rights activists, and we look at other things like thinkers. We look at um, people who are actually referred to as elites. Elites are actually the upper class in any country. In different, we look at philosophers. For example, we looked at where, according to Lash, the new elites, that is those who are in the top 20% in terms of income through globalization, which allows total mobility of capital, no longer live in the same world as their fellow citizens. So there's a world within the world. We'll discuss this in the other videos. Please watch the other videos and listen to what we said there. This is a series. In the video, one of the things we said, of course, looking at the world of the 10% with the elites, the upper class, the ruling class, and the world, the rest of the world. And this is going on. This is part of the cause of the cost of living. We look at different types of political debate. We look at different kind of problems associated with employment or its decline, the middle class, crime rates, trafficking, urban crisis. All these examples, we looked at it. I will look at social movements like people who are looking at how resources are being handled, as before and now under the global system. And we look at resistance. Some people are actually taking direct actions like strike. Even a lot of things are happening around the world, and there are protests, and during events such as World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, IMF, World Bank, the Economic Forum, and the Group of Eight, the G8. These are actually big institutions of multilateral well, within you see protesters, people. Some of them are actually violent, using violent tactics to gain attention toward the issue of globalization. And there are people who actually oppose capitalism. We discussed capitalism in the other in the other videos, and there are movements actually set to promote capitalism, to actually oppose capitalism. And there are people who support capitalism, and I really say that the state across the globe is now promoting capitalism for the few and not the many. Those who actually are capitalists are rich. There are people who join capitalist movement without probably for one reason or another. Some people just join capitalism because the conservative policies also often tend to talk about immigration, and some people don't like people to come into their countries, and they join protests, they join rank for different reasons, and some people don't like the single world market, which is actually the market. When they unite, they form a global system. And some people say in the long run, increased movement of capital between countries tend to favor owners of capital more than any other group. We have talked about this. And if you own something, then capitalism is for you. So the cost of living is here to stay. And so if you want to be included, be rich, as we said in the other video, try and look for those videos and watch them. If you like them, click like and subscribe with the channel, and then share with other people. Those opposed to capital market integration in the basis of human rights issues are essentially disturbed by the various abuses which they think are perpetuated by global and international institutions that they say promote neoliberalism. So there are all sorts of ideas, opinions. Common targets include the World Bank. So the World Bank is a commercial institution. So International Monetary Fund, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and the World Trade Organization, WTO, and free trade treaties like the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, free trade area of the Americas, FTA, the Multilateral Agreement on Investment, MAI, and the General Agreement on Trade and in Services, GATS. So you find all these institutions indicating, evidencing globalization, and they are rich, they are powerful, and what you need to be aware of is that the cost of living is affecting poor people mainly, but in the long run it will also affect other people. In light of the economic gap between rich and poor countries, movement adherents claim free trade without measures in place to protect the undercapitalized will continue only on to the strengthening of power of industrialized nations, often turn the North in opposition to the developing world's South. So there is a divide between the North and the South. The North actually refers to the developed country, the South mainly actually the less developed like Africa. So we have people like corporatist ideologies, which privileges the rights of the corporations, artificial or judicial persons over those of natural persons is an underlying factor in the recent rapid expansion of global commerce. So the same thing about corporatization. Big corporation, wealthy corporations. These themes are repeated throughout, And so we look at the surplus cooperation, the cooperation and surplus popularizing the anti-corporate ideology to the public. So people are actually talking about it. We are trying to talk about it in this video. So if you want to learn more about globalization, like I said in the previous video, it's good to know something. If you need to solve a problem, you have to really know what is happening. We need to know what is causing the cost of living. It is actually a privatization and globalization are the main cause. There are maybe other factors, but they are incidental to these. Are actually fundamental changes happening in our society. So there are people who are actually anti-consumerism. Consumerism is actually consumption. You buy things, clothes, and this is a social movement against equating personal happiness with consumption and the purchase of material possession. I talk of the cultural economy and the developmental economy. We think of money, we think of things, which is good. But if we think about money and things too much, then we think if we have a lot of wealth and money, we are going to be happy. But I said, if you have a friend, you're going to be happy. If you don't, you're going to be sad. A lot of sad people today, especially the rich, and if you look at the cartoon program on television, most of actually cartoon characters now are actually things, material things, nature, like carrots, vegetables, trees, birds, animals. So children grow up thinking wild animals are their friends, their best friends. And when they learn that these things actually are actually nature, then young children are deluded, and the number of toys you buy for them, teddy bears, they look like animals. They don't look like people. So a lot of young people, children especially, growing confused, not really knowing who their best friends are. They think they are, wild animals are their best friends, dogs. So today, people are liking animals more than humans. This is You're more likely to be. I mean, some people say their best friends are their dogs. So that is how bad culturally we are. We are really, really, really suffering culturally. People are so sad. People are suffering from mental health, and the cost of living is just a symptom of how broken our society is. If we think what nature is even more important than people, nature is important, but we need a culture where we understand that humans are more important, and then we are going to be happy if we can have friends. I mean, the only source of happiness is actually friendship with your family, with your best friends, with your. If you can be the best friend of a dog, that is fine. I mean, the dog is going to make you happy, but you have to ask what the dog is thinking. Is a dog living with you because you are his friend or our friend? We give human names to dogs and cats, and sometimes we also horses and cattle, and birds, fishes. I mean, as long as we think something is a pet, or even if it is not a pet, if we love them, we give them human names. Maybe they think we are their friends as well. I don't know how it works in the animal world, because honestly, we need to know what we are doing with what, and money and all this. What makes you happy, and concern over the treatment of consumers by large corporations has spawned substantial activism and the incorporation of consumer education into social curricula. Okay, consumer education is important because it teaches people how to shop. And some people don't like that. Social activists, all materialism is whole materialism is connected to global retail, merchandising and supplier convergence, war, greed, anomie, crime, environmental degradation, the general social malaise and discontent. So all sorts of views are operational. One variation on this topic by is activism by post-consumers with the strategic emphasis on moving beyond addictive consumerism. Consumption is not bad. I would say that, but too much of anything is dangerous. And if we think too much about money, if we keep too much wealth, especially when there are so many people facing the cost of living, and there are at the same time so many people not knowing what to do with wealth. So we as a society we need our culture. Like I said previously, we need to actually get our culture back and begin to work our way back into where we actually strike some good balance. So there are actually people who look at global justice and inequality, global justice movement, for example. These are differences in national income equality around the globe as measured by the National Gini coefficients as of 2018. So the global justice movement is the loose collection of individuals and groups, often referred to as the movement of movements, who advocate fair trade rules and perceive current institution of global economic integration as a problem. So we'll talk about trade integration, economic integration, which is actually features of the global economic system. And so these are people who actually don't like, they're criticizing globalization from different angles. This is now anti something called by the anti-globalization movement by the main media. So the movement is often labeled an anti-globalization movement by the main media. Main media tend to be pro-globalization because they represent the view of wealthy people. Globalization is about wealthy people, and it is not about poor people. If you're poor, then probably you are one of the people who do not like globalization because you're still conscious about social injustice. People who complain about social injustice are poor, and they are the 80 to 90% of the population. There are many, and the reason they complain because of the social injustice, they don't have anything, such as having, face the cost of living. Now, even the middle class may not be feeling the cost of living because they have money. Maybe the 10 or 20% of the population are now feeling the really serious side effect of the cost of living. But all this is going to be changing. More and more people will fall into poverty as we begin to experience the effect of privatization. Like we said in the other videos, the public sector is now closed down, and what we see now is what is left. And if you can make the best use of the situation, but the attitude should change in terms of development. People start changing to do things for themselves. If you know how to do business, start doing business. If you don't know how to do business, think of something else. If you have a job, keep it. If you don't have a job, try to create one. And if you have to think about government, you think about government, but start thinking about yourself more, and start thinking about your family. If you have family, if you have friends, start working with your friend, living with your friend more, thinking about them. Think about people more, because people will be the main source of solving the problem of what is going to be a problem for many. The few will have money, and people will begin to realize what I'm saying now in the next 5 to 10 years. And actually it's happening now with the cost of living. The cost of living is not going anywhere at all. Like COVID-19 is still there. The effect of Brexit is still there. The effect of the financial crisis is still there. So these things are actually sets of prices. We don't know. Ukraine is there. We don't know when Ukraine is going to stop. The West are sending firearms, tanks, and maybe airplane. I don't know if it is a good idea. Leave a comment below if you think sending firearms and tanks to Ukraine is going to. It's a good thing. I think it's pouring the fuel into a fire. Um, um, what I think is actually, I don't know why Ukraine is fighting Russia, and why Russia is not fighting Ukraine. I don't know what Russia wants. Does it want to overthrow Ukraine and make Ukraine part of Russia? How long is it going to be? If the West or the rest of the world is going to help Ukraine, they should actually defeat Russia and stop the war. If not, then they should maybe even support Russia so that Russia defeat Ukraine and take over Ukraine, and so that the war stops. Anything to stop the war is better than the war going on. It doesn't matter what Ukraine wants. It doesn't matter what the West wants. It doesn't matter what Russia wants. War is not good. We have been fighting all the time, and we thought at one point that at this time we won't be fighting, but there is going to be more war. The cost of living is a type of war because it's created by the government. The government decided to close down the public sector. That's why there's a cost of living. Those in power decided to globalize their power economy, that power system. They decided that it's by design. It wasn't accidental. They decided to actually increase their power by creating globalization. And so we have this crisis. The rich are getting richer and more powerful. The poor are getting poorer. And the sooner we realize if you work for a living, you're poor. Even if you are feeling good about your money, maybe you're still getting 200,000, 300,000 pounds. But what if you lose your job and you are on a mortgage? The 3,000 pounds will stop. The 300,000 pounds per annum will stop. The 500,000 pounds per annum will stop. And you will be in debt within a matter of months. And then you will know that yes, although you are middle class, you are actually poor. You see, rich people don't have to go through that because their position is secure. But my warning to rich people, don't take life for granted. See, your behavior of being greedy, really, you're being greedy because you haven't learned anything culturally. That's what I'm saying. You have to learn the culture of generosity, of actually thinking of other people. Rich people are avoiding taxes because there's something called non-dom tax evasion. People actually go to countries where they don't have to pay tax. These are only the rich people who can do that. Poor people can't even do that because they're so poor they can't really be even ruthless in any way, even if they want to. So I'm just saying this. Let us just suck this in, because if we are to solve problem, we have to really, it's going to be short term, it's going to be medium, it's going to be long term. But normally, long term solution is better than short term. Short term is relief. There's food bank. The UK government is asking people to go into. They're asking people to go into the. What do you call it? The public spaces, library. Library is set actually to do studies. You're to go there to read. You're not supposed to migrate from your home, run away from your home because of poverty. And we think only the very, very poor are now suffering. Yes, maybe 10 or 15% or 20% are the ones really facing the hardest time. But how about the middle one? About 50% of the population, which are actually the middle class. It's only a matter of time when this hardship of the 10% or the 20% at the very, very lowest level is going to catch on. You see, because it's wrong. It's human wrong. It's going to catch you. If we are lucky, even the rich are going to. There might be something really terrible happening to the world if we are not careful. Because, if we don't draw the line about our behavior, the social injustice and the violence, the cruelty, if we don't really think again, if we don't start becoming civil, cultural, and learning peace, we may actually run out of time. For the poor and the rich, we may destroy everything because of our behavior. Let us be careful. Because of living may seem like a joke, but people are dying now. People are actually phoning, they are talking to their family, friends, sometimes strangers. People cry. People are contemplating suicide. People are mentally, going mental. People are getting mad. They're getting mentally sick, ill. And because people didn't expect something like this to happen, things are happening very quickly for the very poorest. And it's going to spread from the very poorest to the middle class. And it might actually spread into the wealthy countries, the wealthy circle. The rich may not be safe. They may destroy the earth by acts of misbehavior. Because social injustice is wrong. That's what's happening. You have to remember that. Whether you agree with it or not, leave a comment below. Let's see how it goes. And I'm talking about the cost of living. I would be talking about specific helps in the UK. If you are not in the UK, pay attention to what happens in the UK, because what happens in the UK happens around the world because of globalization. The movement is based on the idea of social justice. These are actually anti-globalist movement. They are fighting for social justice. They are desiring the creation of a society or institutions based on the principle of equality and solidarity, the value of human rights, and the dignity of every human being. This is what we're talking about. There are people who are still struggling, thinking they can influence globalization, bring social justice, and deal with social inequality within and between nations, including a growing global digital divide, digital economy, actually information, the internet. There's something called nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is actually replacing digital technology. They are more versatile, they're more dynamic. These are actually good things. They are good signs. They will help us to produce different material, new material, new fuel technology, for example. They are smaller than digital fingerprinting. So, so you talk about digital age. The internet is an example of a digital age. Email, electronic systems, information system. So we talk about the growing global divide is between the rich and the poor, like I said. And these are actually focusing on point of the movement. It's a focal point of the movement. This is what they focus on, this movement, this group, this opposition group. There are many non-governmental organizations which have now arisen to fight these inequalities that many in Latin America, Africa, Africa and Asia face. So we'll talk about Latin America. These are poor areas, Africa, Asia. If you're poorer you are, the more excluded you are, the more you resent and oppose globalization, and there cannot be peace until this is resolved. A few very popular and well-known non-governmental organizations, NGOs, include War Child, Red Cross, Free the Children, and Care International. You probably know more about this organization than anybody else. They are quite common, but they are now reacting to actually push forward their point of view, to be heard, to be influencing. Humans don't go out without a fight. They will always fight, but the rich people are so arrogant. I say this clearly. They're so arrogant. I mean, if you look at the government now, because they're full of rich people, and they are actually working for themselves and for their families, they are creating a new world for themselves. And they seem to think that, the vast majority of people are going to walk away quietly. They are not. Some of them will be dying, but you don't know what's going to happen. It's anybody's guess. So let us be careful. And if you're poor, try your best to be rich. They often create partnership where they work towards improving the lives of those who live in the developing countries by by building schools, fixing infrastructure, cleaning water supplies, purchasing equipment and supplies for hospitals and other aid efforts. So they're doing things. They're helping other people. I don't know who they are, but you know about NGOs, CBOs, and these development agencies. They've always been around, but they are now taking on a global scale. Probably you can join them. They are peaceful. They work positively. They try to help in building wealth for those who are actually not wealthy to access. So I'll talk about social family welfare in the state welfare state. Because we used to have welfare state in Britain and in the developed world in Europe, America, they're shut. So we probably now talk about social welfare, social welfare. We'll probably talk about welfare, family welfare. Talk about welfare, individual welfare. You look look after yourself, and you work with your family to produce welfare system. Talk about welfare state. I will talk about welfare state again in the future. But we're already going to be moving forward. We have done very well. We are 1 month into this project. My channel has been around for 10 years, but it has been inactive. It has been active only a few weeks ago, which is good. We are very slow. There are very few people supporting us now, but we hope to gain a company to join us, you know, to have a company of more people working with us. So we talk about social inequality and international inequality. What used to be national is now international, including inequality. Social inequality was there. That's why the welfare state was created. That's why the public sector was created, to try and deal with the social inequalities, but it is closed down again. So it's not going to come back again. But we have to really look for an equivalence within ourselves. We have to really work for our own inequality. The government is no longer helping. We'll talk about the government's help, which is still available, and how difficult it is, how little it is. But people should really do their best to access it. And we will talk about all these things. So the global share of wealth by Wealth Group Credit Suisse 2017. These are some surveys done by Credit Suisse. Is I think is a banking institution. The economies of the world have developed unevenly historically, such that the entire geographical regions were left marred in poverty and diseases, while others began to reduce poverty and disease on a wholesale basis. So we talk about inequalities from around 1980 through at least 2011. The GDP gap, while still wide, appeared to be closing, and in some more rapidly developing countries, like life expectancy began to rise. So there are some positives. If we look at the Gini coefficient for world income since the late 1980s, the gap between some regions has markedly narrowed between Asia and the advanced economies of the West. An example, for example, but huge gaps remain globally. So there's some sign of optimism, because globalization potentially is supposed to intensify wealth. Capitalism actually creates wealth. The only problem with capitalism is actually it failed to distribute. So overall equality across humanity, considered as individuals, has improved very little. Like I said before, this improvement is quite slow, and little means almost nothing. Within the decade between 2003 and 2013, income inequality grew even in traditionally egalitarian countries like Germany, Sweden, and Denmark. Egalitarianism, these are people who actually are they're more relaxed about life, and they are more open-minded. They are less conservative. They are more liberal, with a few exceptions. France, Japan, Spain, the top 10% of earners in most advanced economies raced ahead, while the bottom 10% fell further behind. So there are some diehards. By the 2013 recently, 85 multi-billionaires had amassed wealth equivalent to all the wealth owned by the poorest half 3.5 billion of the world's total population of 7 billion. So as late, as recent as 2018, 2013 actually, 85 billionaires had amassed wealth. They had as much wealth wealth owned by the half, poorest half, 3.5 billion of the world's population of 7 billion. There was this right now we are 8 billion people. So so if you have 85 people, individuals owning 85 people, okay, 85 people in 2013, 85 people were owning a half of the wealth, global wealth, a half of the global wealth. That is 3.5 billion. A half of the wealth owned by 3.5 billion. See, they were owning wealth equivalent to they were owning wealth equivalent to all the wealth owned by half of the global population. So if you count 50%, let's say we are okay. Let's say 50% of the population, the amount of wealth owned by 50% of the population is equivalent to wealth owned by only 85 people. These are billionaires, multi-billionaires. So 85 billion own a half, an equivalent of a half of the wealth owned by poor people. So that is, if you can figure it out. So critics of globalization argue that globalization results in weak labor unions. The surplus in cheap labor, coupled with an ever-growing number of companies in transition, weaken labor unions in high-cost areas, because government do not want to regulate the market. That's why a good policy for social justice and equality would have been actually government regulating the market, and also financially supporting small and medium business to create jobs. And that's what the public sector was trying to do, where until it was closed down. That's why now the food prices and the energy prices are out of control, because the market is now controlling it. The rule of supply and demand. So every time there is a disturbance to do with supply, demand is also affected. Now, these are market systems. They are risky. They are good for business. They are good for wealthy people, because wealthy people can take risks. Poor people cannot, and poor people are people who work for a living, the 80 to 90% of the population. So we are going to be seeing more and more of chaos within food supply, within energy supply, housing, transportation. These are things the government should manage, because they are essential. They are their basic necessities. The government should manage this because they are basic necessities, but they are not doing that. Globalization or not, globalization makes it worse for poor people. It makes it better for rich people. So that's the bottom line. So critics of globalization argue that globalization results in weak labor unions. That, like I said, labor union is like poor people uniting to support labor, to support employment. But that is now gone. The trade union is a ghost. It's a ghost. It's dead. People who go to demonstrate, they can go. It might still help a little, but the future. I mean, life without the future is no life. The public sector has no future. It's gone. It's finished. If we can, Let us do something with capitalism, with the private sector, because that is the choice we have. The only choice left is actually privatization, privatization, democratization, capitalism, business, do business, and business, and more business, and create wealth. And if you want to fight for something which is already dead, that is your choice. But my advice: don't waste your time on the state. The state is gone. It's the only. Pay attention to businesses, and that's what you want to do. And learn to do business. If you are employed, I said in the other video that private sector don't create jobs. They create jobs because they want you to work to build their business. If they don't need you, they're not going to pay you. Then where will you go? The benefit, the welfare state is closing down. There's going to be no benefit. The government is going to help you with employment anymore because the government is already gone. The only thing left is business. Big businesses especially. Even small and medium businesses are closing down. They're not going to be there anyway because they are poor. I mean, if you're poor, be rich. That is, try to be rich, or else you can actually die if you're not careful. So you have to work, and learn. If you used to spend most of your time partying, that is over. Go and continue party if you want, but if you want a future, change your behavior. Spend more time on education, training, learn how to do business, learn how to write projects, learn how to budget, learn how. I mean, if some people can make profit, learn how to make profit. Right now, from now on, the cost of living is an opportunity for you to start changing the way you behave with money, with wealth, with work. So actually understanding how the cost of living was created, because it was created by the government when it shut down the public sector. Understanding that is going to help you to start solving the problem, because it will waken you. You are asleep. You are sleeping thinking the government was there permanently. No, nothing in life lasts forever. Right now, concentrate on business. Forget about the government. They also cite an increase in the exploitation of child labor. So children are actually the poorest in society. So they're the most exploited. Women are poorer than men. So women actually suffer more under the cost of living. Children suffer most. If you go onto the street, children are now running away from home, going onto the street, and some of them will not come back alive. And this is only the beginning. It's going to get worse and worse. Most children are going to die. More women are going to suffer and die. And then more men who are poor are going to suffer and die. If you don't help yourself, this is the message of this video. And if you want to talk to me, leave a comment below. When I start doing video conferencing, we were going to talk about this. Those who are interested, if you're not interested, just do something else. If you're interested, if you watch this video, share with your family and friends, and talk to me. If you think I'm doing something wrong, let me know. If you think I'm doing something right, let me know. But I tell you, what I'm saying is true. I may not be saying it in the best of ways, but listen to it. It doesn't matter how you think you're rich. I mean, even rich people, you listen to it, because the market system is so volatile. It's not stable. The market system is very volatile. Even if you are a billionaire, you can lose your money within days or weeks. You can be a billionaire in the morning, in the evening you can be zero. You can join the poor on the streets, wherever they live. I think they will be living in concentration camps for security reasons. Imagine a bunch of 80% of 8 billion. How many are they? 80% of 8 billion are poor, and they're going to want to survive. And those who are in power, this is not going to be the government. It's going to be businesses, private individuals with power and organization, like corporations and things like that. They will be having private army. Most of those armies are going to be robots because of robotics. They need the rise of the machine. They're going to be robotics. They won't even know humans. They will be programmed to actually control the people. This is what I see happening. It may not happen, but if you look at the signs now, including cost of living, which came out almost out of the blue, nobody expected. I didn't expect it. It just came, and it may not go away for the next 50 years. People will actually be suffering. This may be the beginning of something really, really horrible in terms of poverty. So you need to start preparing. Otherwise, the government is going to send you into concentration camp right now for security reasons. Because if people cannot access food and energy, that's going to be dangerous. And the government is playing with fire. I know the government no longer listen to anyone because of politics. They no longer listen to anyone. They pretend, but I know. Just this evening, I've been watching debate in Parliament. How they talk in Parliament. It just shows that they're just playing games. They're playing politics. And if you think the government is doing something serious, think again. People don't watch BBC Parliament. They don't. Probably it's a good thing, so that I don't know if it is good to be ignorant. You don't know what is happening. But if you start looking at what politicians are talking about, you know they're out of touch. You see, they're just playing games in Parliament. Seriously. And unless it changes the culture, the parliamentary culture, unless the political culture, unless the business culture changes very quickly, what is happening now is going to degenerate into a serious security issue. I have to really mention this. I've been avoiding mentioning this. It's going to be a major serious security issue, and people will be sent into concentration camps for security reasons. And for survival, I mean, it may be good for the people. I mean, to go. I don't know how they're going to be fed. Because rich people will be having the money. How are they going to feed people? Because the government is shut down. And literally, people are not going to. People do not afford food. I go out to buy food, to buy energy all the time. It's so expensive. It's of now. And in March, this year, is going to go up. Energy costs are going to go up. They also cite an increase in the exploitation of child labor. I said that countries with weak protections for children are vulnerable to infestation by rogue companies and criminal gangs who exploit them. These look like horror stories. This is the material from the internet. Go and read them if you want, or listen to this video. If you don't want to listen to the video, go somewhere else and learn from there. If you don't want to learn, relax. Why suffer if you can relax? Enjoy the life while it lasts. People who want to take leadership should learn now. Leadership for yourself, for your family, and for your friends. Learn now. Learn about politics. Politics. You don't need to learn anything. Learn about globalization and privatization. Those two things. If you learn about globalization, you will learn about privatization, because globalization is privatization in a large scale. That is a relevant topic. You can learn whatever you like, but if you want to know what matters, because if you are doing technology, you're going to learn about business. Something called customer service. Anything you learn, you cannot learn any topic now, especially if it is functional, especially if it's professional training. And most academic curriculums, academic training are now shutting down, because these are actually supplied by the public sector. There's something called deschooling. Deschooling, actually, I mean shutting down schools. Getting rid of schools is going to remain only for the rich, because the rich have choice. They have choice. They can choose to take their children to school or not. The poor people will have only one choice: not to take your child to school, because you will not have the money. The government is shut down. There will be no money for schools. It's called deschooling. Go and Google deschooling and find. It's so complicated. It's actually They don't write things clearly. It's so complex, but you have to learn how to to understand complicated materials and learn to explain it to yourself. You're on your own. You're an individual. Capitalism means individualism. So I've been saying this over and over. If you have been watching all the videos, you're probably getting upset almost, because I've been saying it again and again. That's how important it is, because we are a new channel, so that's why I've been repeating some of the points. Going forward, we will be changing the format of presentation, so don't worry about what is happening now. We are only for 1 month old. Examples include quarrying, salvage, and farm work, as well as trafficking, bondage, forced labor, prostitution, and pornography. I don't know if you watch pornography. If I watch pornography, I'm not going to tell anybody because it's embarrassing. If I actually go around with prostitutes, I'm not going to tell anybody because it's so embarrassing. If I walk naked, I'm not going to tell anybody because it's so embarrassing. It's cultural degradation, in my opinion. If you think it is good, fine. And it is addictive. Like food. There are certain food I eat, I don't even want to look at it. But I eat it all the times. I know it's not good for me, but I'm addicted to them. Television program, there are certain program on YouTube. I'm addicted to them. I'm probably addicted. I don't know. Maybe I might be get addicted to talking. I'm not sure. Maybe I get addicted to singing. Life is addictive. If you like something, you get addicted to it. Sometimes it's good problem to be addicted to good thing. If you think pornography is good, go on, be addicted to it. If you think prostitution is good, go be addicted to it. Leave a comment below and say how cool it is. Forced labor, slavery. If you want to think slavery is good, slavery is also addictive, because if somebody else work for you and you don't work, I mean, what's not to like? So you get addicted to it. Bondage is slavery, and forced labor are the same. Forced labor is a specific type of slavery, and there are so many. I mean, if you have on your only choice, you have to work. The employer can do whatever he likes or she likes. I mean, that is going to happen. They're going to start happening now that the government has closed. You're on your own. You will have to do what your employer asks you to do. It doesn't matter how bad it is, because you want money to feed your family. That is what is going to happen now for the poor. So brace yourself for some really horrible thing. Human trafficking. You have heard on the TV, human trafficking. It's real. And part of the global problem, but globalization is not the problem. We humans are the problem. We have actually abandoned human culture, and we became nothing when we stopped being cultural people. We became nothing, and we became money seekers. We think of money, wealth. Well, we respect money. We respect wealth. We no longer respect human beings. We are the problem. I believe, I have hope that we can change. Like I said in the other videos, I believe people can change. If things get really bad, we will come to our senses and we begin to do what is right. Right now, as I speak, some of us no longer know the difference between right and wrong, because we are individuals. What is right for you is not necessarily right for me, because it's choice. We talk about choice, like customers going into the shop. You go to the shop, you are taught to have choice. You choose what you want because you are rich. Even the poor people, I mean, if you call people poor in this country, you're going to get into trouble, because people still think they are rich. They have always thought they are rich in this country. And even now, as I speak, some people are so disgusted. Probably. They probably don't tell me, because most of them probably know me. They are probably so upset for me to suggest even that they are poor. But because they don't understand poverty, people get credit. You see, if you're working, creditors will actually be your boss. They can even buy you dinner. If they know you're in a good job, you're doing a good job, you're probably earning £50,000 per annum after tax. Maybe £100,000 after tax. Maybe £200,000 after tax. They know, they see that you are doing well. The creditors will never leave. Even if you tell them, I don't want credit, they say, please look at this, until you start entering into credit and into debt. You think you buy cars, rich people sometimes even don't drive. You are not even rich, you work for a living. You are earning £300,000. You think you have arrived, and in many ways you have. The creditors, you will buy anything you want on credit. You can buy a house, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom house. You live in it, you think, wow, I never saw, and you begin to think it will not end. Now it is ending. It is ending. Because it was fake. You have been living a fake life. And some people still don't realize it. If you call them poor, they feel so insulted. They are full of egos. Their egos are so distorted, and you try to tell them, you are not rich, and you will get into trouble if you tell people you're poor. Who are you to tell them? It's your opinion. Keep it to yourself. We don't want to be thinking of poverty. It is not us, but the cost of living should open your eye. It's a sign that what I'm saying is true. The reason I'm saying all this is because I saw the cost of living. It came out of the blue, and I know what it is. It's because of privatization, because of globalization. Period. Because globalization and privatization is the same. Is privatization gone big, global? So we talk of immigrant rights as they march for amnesty in cities, big cities like Los Angeles. This incident event happened in 2006, May Day. There were actually immigrant rights, because immigration, globalization is supposed to free boundaries, borders, free movement of people. It's part of the features of globalization. But as it turns out, they are actually talking, when they talk about people, they talk about the rich. Right now, people are actually being, people are dying in boats. I can't say they're being killed. I don't know if somebody is killing them. They could be somebody might be killing them because of the media, because of politics. It is very easy to develop a very, very strong hatred for immigrants. And immigrants refers to poor people. If you are rich, if you travel, you're probably a tourist. But a tourist is an immigrant. But because of the reputation, because the image painted, the political image, a politically motivated imaging of immigrants, they are actually poor, and they are thieves, they are murderers, they are criminals actually. That's what people think they are. But some of them are running away from poverty. Most people are running away from poverty. They think wealth is in the West or in the developed country, and they are right. And the people of this country are being told by the government that the reason you are poor because other people are coming to take away your wealth, your housing, your money. That may be true, but it's not really true, because immigrants are very few in number who comes to this country. The government is playing politics because the government thinks they should buy time to do what they're doing, their political agenda, which is privatization. They think wealth is going to trickle down the economy. They assume that rich people are actually civilized. Rich people are not civilized at all. They are culturally extremely uneducated. They are very illiterate culturally. It's the same with poor people who know very little about culture. They have no respect for themselves. I don't have respect for myself. I need to learn myself. Everybody. I'm not talking about one person or another. We are all in this together. We need to learn how to behave. You see? So rich people don't deserve to be rich. They are just lucky. They're privileged. Most of them inherited wealth from their parents, and their parents inherited wealth from their parents. Talk of the royal family. The royal family actually are the rulers of this country. They're the richest. They inherited wealth from their parents. You see? And those who work for them, the British government, work for the royal family, they are called, what are they called? They're called, Our Majesty's, officers, whatever you call them. I forgot what the term I wanted to use. They work for the. You see, we all work for His Majesty now, Prince King Charles. They are called sovereign. Sovereign means they're supreme. This country belongs to them. That's what sovereignty means. They are all powerful, like we say in the UK. Parliament is sovereign, but we also refer to the royal family as sovereign, as the king of England and Wales and the United Kingdom. The King Charles, his other title is sovereign. He's the sovereign. So His Majesty, the King, we serve him. We are his servant. That was the word I was looking for. We are royal servant, and we are so proud of our king. When the Queen died, I actually cried in my house. I mean, it's my secret. It's now out. I didn't know I loved the Queen so much. She's my mother. Literally, I loved her. I didn't actually realize I loved the Queen until she died. When I actually cried for the Queen, tears in my home. I've told the whole world. You know how I feel about my regencies. My king, King Charles is my king, and God save the king. But you see, the king has his work cut out for his subjects. See, we are his subjects, and I wouldn't envy being King Charles, because the inequality created by capitalism need to be resolved. I mean, the crisis of the cost of living is an opportunity we should take, as wealthy people, as poor people, to revisit our cultural roots of humanity. That's the solution of the problem, because it's a human problem, it's a cultural problem. It's not really rocket science that you should have compassion for another human being. I mean, if you don't have compassion for another human being, then go back to school and study something called cultural economy. If you find a subject called cultural economy, then study it. If you don't, then come back to my channel. Maybe my channel will be more useful in teaching cultural economy, especially the new cultural economy which relate to. This is a terminology I created. I think I'm proud of it. It may not make sense even to me or to most people, but that's what I created. Cultural economy means respect for self, respect for others, respect for your property and for the property of other people, and respect for nature, respect for the world, material for wealth. You have to respect money, but you have to respect yourself first. See? So that you look after yourself, you look after other people. You're your brother and your sister's keeper. That's what cultural economy means. The other bit is called developmental economy, which is the creation of wealth, technology, science, engineering. We are very successful. These are actually the two elements of progress, developmental and cultural. So the developmental we are doing very well, except for the inequality. the social injustice. The social injustice is proof that we need to develop culturally. I've been saying this, I will be saying it again and again and then. I don't know where it might help, but I think it will help. If you watch this video, if you respect it, subscribe for it, share it with your family and friends, and look after yourself, look after your property, look after your friends, family, look after the world. Be good. Be a good person. See, it doesn't hurt to be good. Actually pays to be good. So there's evidence suggests that while globalization has expanded women's access to employment, the long-term goal of transforming gender inequalities remains unmet and appears unattainable without regulation of capital and the reorientation and expansion of the state's role in funding public goods and providing social safety net. That is what we call the public sector. Let's talk about the public sector, which we discussed over and over and over. That's what it's talk about, so that weaker people like women and children. I mean, women may not want to be referred to as they are weak, but the world is so violent that they're designed by men for men. There's like if the world can be seen as democracy, then it's a world designed by men for men, and women need to actually influence it, so that maybe women is the hope for humanity. But women now want to behave like men also. They want power. And to get power, you have to wear trousers and start acting like a man. So, our hope, we always have hope with women, but women need power to survive. And we probably, children are actually beginning to act like adults, grow up, or just, you have to be, if you're a child, you have to be really, an adult very quickly to survive. And they're now capturing the street. Children are capturing the street. Sooner or later, adults may not cross the street. if we achieve the unfortunate goals of lawlessness. So let us be really, really observant. Let us be attentive. Let's see how this goes. So, furthermore, the intersectionality of gender, race, class, and more remain overlooked when assessing the impact of globalization. This is a critique of something similar to what we're talking about. So, all these things are actually interconnected. Furthermore, so in 2016, a study published by the IMF posited that nationalism, the ideological backbone of contemporary globalization, capitalism, actually neoliberalism, the ideological background of contemporary globalized capitalism, has been oversold, with the benefits of neoliberal policies being fairly difficult to establish when looking at the broad group of countries and the costs of significantly higher income and the cause most significantly higher income inequality within nations at the level of sustainability and growth, quite similar to what we've been talking about. And apparently, this is a source from the IMF, which talk about neoliberalism. Actually, neoliberalism in the time of when we advocate freedom, and which actually we form the ideological background of contemporary globalized capitalism. So we talk about capitalism as freedom, individual freedom, liberalism, if you like, in the time of liberalism. We exaggerate the reality of liberalism. Actually, like I've been saying, we may think we are free, but like I say, really, without cultural maturity, we are going to be like fake news, bunches of fake news. We think if we think something exists, then something really exists. But we need to work for our freedom. Maybe we have to learn peace. We have to do things, everything. I mean, if we are going to get change, if we're going to make progress, we're going to have to learn to do it peacefully, other than using violence and force, and the way it is happening now. You get Ukraine, if you see savages like Russia and Ukraine fighting each other, I don't know who is at fault, to be honest. They are just fighting. I mean, if you get people fighting on the street, it's going to be difficult to know the difference. Let's say never argue with a fool, because people will not know whether you are a fool, or people will not know the difference. If people find you fighting, the two of you, they will just, these people are so disgraceful. That's happening between Ukraine and Russia. People may sympathize with Ukraine because he's a smaller guy. Russia is a big man. People you always associate size with being a bully. That's why the West always get this mark or the slack, whatever you call it. People always are quick to blame the Western countries because they're so powerful. And if more is given to you, you should take more responsibilities. I mean, you have been given a lot of right to wealth, so you got it by force, probably. I don't know how the West got wealthy and powerful. Maybe they took wealth and power by force. So now they have a lot of rights to power and force, and more force and more power and more wealth. Maybe they should take more responsibilities than others. I don't know. Now, next time we're going to talk about anti-global governance. You can probably guess, because when you talk about government, one world government, that's what it's talking about. We have discussed this in the other videos. If you watch it, you'll get a rough idea what they might be talking about. So one world government is, let's say, global governance, but these are people who are actually against it, anti-governance, anti-global governance. Because that means that there is a global governance. You can't be anti something which doesn't exist. So there is, if you discover that there is anti-global governance, know that there is global governance, which I refer to as being one world government. As actually member states, different states are actually coming together to form one world government. So that is what it is. The global government is actually one world government and one world everything. If you are women group are actually becoming one women group. If you are religion, there's going to be one religion, one world religion. That's what globalization look like in terms of institution. In terms of people, people always follow institution because they create it. Institutions actually, in legal terms, they are called personalities, legal personalities. So we're going to continue with this discussion as much as we can, and connecting it with the cost of living, because, like I said, capitalism and globalization created the cost of living. It's probably creating the war in Ukraine, because if there was Soviet Union, probably Ukraine wouldn't be fighting with Russia. Now, globalization is responsible for, in the main, is for the breakdown of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union are to be broken down in order to come back as part of the global community. So United States of America will also have to join the European Union. When we talk about Brexit, we already recorded that in another video. It is fake. Britain cannot leave Europe. There is called Brexit deal. Brexit deal or Brexit agreement. Politicians are still debating it. They are still complaining. Labour Party is complaining about the Conservative. It's not striking, a good deal for Britain. Why deal? We voted to leave. Why did you not let us leave? Why? What deal were you talking about? And when the government does something, you don't think you will know about it, because they do things behind the scene. And if they tell you something, they will tell you in a language which will make it even more complicated. Go on to the government website and see. Unless, yes, go, if you're in the UK, visit gov.uk and read about the cost of living and come back to me and leave a comment. Tell me how easy it was for you to understand it. Read as much as you can and tell me what help is the government giving. And tell me that it was so easy for you to know what the government is talking about. You knew what help was available where, and that is just getting the information. But also, if you begin to try and get the help, you make a phone call here, you visit there, maybe whatever you do, it's going to be, you will discover very quickly that it's so hard to access help because there is no help. Every help is given, but it's symbolical now. It's symbolic because the government attitude is not to give help to anyone because it's shutting down. It doesn't have money for public sector. Shutting down the public sector means that the government should stop funding it. If it doesn't stop funding, the public sector will go nowhere. The best way to shut it down is to stop funding it. So the government has stopped funding. That's why there is a lot of problem, including the cost of living. Good night. Subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment. Share. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.